This is my review of Arrow episode 10, which is called Burned. It's the response video to Kevin's review of the same episode. We have some different views on the show and decided it would be a good idea to take the show from different sides and make arguments about our views on some of the stuff that happens. Much like Kevin did, I'm going to start off by just talking about the show a little bit. It revolves around the Green Arrow, who is a minor character for much of his life, and Kevin Smith even got to write a couple things for him involving the Green Lantern. There's a lot of references to other DC comics in this show. The ex-girlfriend Laurel was the second Black Canary, who was Arrow's girlfriend in the comics. In this episode, the bad guy is named Firefly, who was a Batman villain. There's another episode where the bad guy is the Huntress, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay. They name his sister Speedy, who was the Green Arrow's original sidekick. He's very Batman-y. He's a rich guy who had a boy sidekick and used gadgets to fight crime. So you can see where they got the Arrow idea and why he didn't become very popular. He's kind of a Batman ripoff. Normally on the show, Arrow is following a list of corrupt businessmen given to him by his father. And it's a list of people who have destroyed this city and made it worse for the common man. In this episode, he is sad that he got beaten up in episode 9 and instead goes after the Firefly. And also because one of the victims was Laurel's co-worker's brother. We then get our side plots for the episode. This stupid thing with the phone where they leave the phone lying around and another character picks it up. And that way Laurel can contact the Green Arrow directly and ask him for help defeating the Firefly. Dig gets a scene telling him also to take on the Firefly and to go out and kick some butt. And his mom gets offered the CEO spot at Queen Industries because they've lost 2 CEOs in the last 5 years and stock prices are going in a dump. Well, with some urging from Dig, he goes to confront the evil fireman, who he lets kill the victim. The good guy just dies, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why the writers let the good guy die. He's just an innocent person with no backstory. It doesn't affect anybody. They barely mention him again. It has no impact on Arrow that they didn't get there in time. All it accomplishes is that the fireman's hand loses a glove, and we get to see a Firefly tattoo, and that's how he ends up finding out who the bad guy is. Well, after that confrontation, Oliver gets to do his favorite thing in this show, which is talk about the plot to Dig. And Kevin pointed this out to me, and I didn't notice the first time. Instead of saying things like, "How is Joanna?" he says, "How is Laurel's friend whose brother was a firefighter who died?" And it's weird things like that sometimes. In this, he figures out that firefighter was a firefighter, and that he was a part of a crew that had been recently shut down. So he's going around killing the members of the crew. I want to re-say what Kevin said at this part, that it makes no sense for him to be a fireman. They claim that he was in a burning building and was pulled out and wasn't able to be identified. How did he lose all of his fire gear, both of his tanks, his mask, and they don't look for the body of the missing fireman? It makes no sense. After a really uncomfortable conversation between Oliver and Laurel about her relationship with Tommy, and Oliver talking to Dig about the plot of the episode some more, we move on to a benefit they're having for the fallen firefighters. And of course, the Firefly shows up and starts a fire, but then nothing happens. There's no big fight scene at the end, and that's sad because the best part of this show is the fight scenes. They have such good choreography in this show and really good cinematography, which shows in the fire scene. The fire is done really well, but there's no fighting, which sucks. Well, after the fire, the news coverage thanks the Arrow for saving the day, even though he didn't really do anything. He just kind of stood around and talked to the bad guy. Tommy saves more people than he did. Tommy actually tries to run into the fire to save Oliver. And as Kevin pointed out to me when we talked about this episode as it was happening, the bromance between Tommy and Oliver is more convincing than the relationship between either Oliver and Laurel or Tommy and Laurel. Well, Mom makes an appearance at the end of the episode, as she often does, and says that she's happier now and she's going to take over the CEO job. And it's kind of suspicious to everybody because she was sad and hadn't left her room for 2 days. But she says, oh, it was the conversation I had with my daughter. And the daughter basically says, well, I don't know, it's a pretty cliche conversation. I don't see how it could have that much of an effect. And we know it didn't. We know it's bullshit because we know more about what she's doing than they do. And we end the episode with one last flashback to the island where he's searching the body of the guard he killed and finds a nice map and keys to the enemy camp so that he can try to free his buddy from the island. And I'll end it there, and thank you for watching, and I will try to do a better job next time.